I second it.
Thank you. Senator Craughwell, you may begin.
Thank you, Lasco Hirlook. Minister, you're welcome to the House this afternoon. I think this is the first time I've addressed you since you were elevated, so congratulations on your elevation. Minister, we gather here this afternoon on this topic, and seated in the VIP gallery today we have the Chairman of the Board of the Dublin Dental Hospital, Dublin Dental University Hospital, the CEO and staff, most of whom are involved in the treatment of head and neck cancer. So we'll start on that. So I stand before you today, Minister, not only as a legislator, but as a parent. My daughter Rebecca's journey through head and neck cancer has been one of unimaginable strength and quiet suffering. It is her experience and the experience of so many others that compel me to speak today. Head and neck cancer is not just a clinical diagnosis. It is a life-altering reality that affects how a person speaks, eats, breathes, and sees themselves in the mirror. I know this intimately as it hits close to home because Rebecca has lived it and she lives it every day. Her journey through Ireland's healthcare system has been marked by courage, but also by struggle. We waited for scans, we waited for referrals, we waited for answers. And in those long, uncertain days and years, we learned that time is not a luxury cancer patients can afford. The National Oral Health Policy was first published in 2019, yet 6 years on, its implementation plan remains at the draft stage only, released for initial consultation in the summer of 2025. While it's encouraging that head and neck cancer is recognised as a priority, the proposed care pathway will not be outlined until the end of 2026, and no national funding commitments have been disclosed. Critically, the designation of the advanced care centres is deferred to phase 3 of the implementation plan, scheduled for 2031 to 2032. This timeline is unacceptable, I'm sure you'll agree. Head and neck cancer patients cannot afford to wait another decade for access to safe, timely and specialised care. Already patients face long delays for pre-radiation treatment, often leading to post-operative avoidable trauma. The struggle to access adequate dental specialists prior to the commencement of radiotherapy, this can, as I've already said, lead to post-operative complications. And they often begin radiotherapy without the dental care that is essential to their safety. At the Dublin Dental University Hospital, approximately 400 new patients are referred each year. But there is only one consultant-led service there. Similarly, in Cork University Dental School and Hospital, they manage 160 patient referrals annually, with only a single specialist-led service. This bottleneck is not just inefficient, it's dangerous. Every 4-week delay in radiotherapy increases mortality by 9%. That's not just a statistic. That's a life, that's a daughter, that's a son, that is a father, that is a mother, that is somebody's world. Behind every percentage point is a person whose chance of survival is slipping away because of systemic delays that are preventable. Timely access to treatment is not a luxury, it's a lifeline. There is growing evidence that the human papillomavirus, HPV, is associated with head and neck cancers, and it's on the rise, particularly among younger individuals. This demographic shift is deeply concerning as these patients face lifelong consequences from both the disease and its treatment. This trend represents a significant national health issue driven by the increased prevalence of HPV. Currently, HPV-related cases account for approximately 25% of pre-radiation dental referrals, a figure projected to surge to 66% by 2025. Delays in pre-radiation dental oncology assessment and treatment are directly contributing to postponed initiation of radiation therapy. These setbacks not only reduce survival rates, but also severely diminish patients' quality of life. Severe capacity constraints are causing critical delays in radiotherapy, inadequate dental preparation, and heightened long-term risks for patients, including osteoradionarcosis, which is the decay or dead jaw, and the facial bones suffer from that, and radiation-induced dental caries. Alarmingly, 43% of patients present without a regular dentist and severely limited with access to essential post-treatment care. Currently, there are 181 patients awaiting post-radiography review, with some delays extending up to 14 months. Young patients often have a better prognosis, but face lifelong side effects. Many start radiotherapy without proper dental clearance, risking complications like osteoradionarcosis and radiation caries. Osteoradionarcosis, as Rebecca will tell you, my daughter, is a painful, incurable jawbone condition caused by radiation requiring complex, ongoing care and repeated surgeries that severely strain patients' physical and emotional being. This condition hinders dental rehabilitation, making implants or dentures difficult and severely impacting nutrition, speech, appearance and well-being. The hardest part isn't the treatment, it's what follows: lost speech, altered appearance, altered speech, and the fear of being forgotten in an overstretched system. This private member's motion urges statutory recognition of dental oncology care as part of cancer treatment, mandating timely access, adequate staffing, regional equity, structured rehabilitation and national oversight, so surviving cancer doesn't mean suffering in silence. We seek an immediate €556,000 increase in the Dublin Dental University Hospital, raising its annual budget to €1.3 million. Additionally, €4.2 million is required. National funding is needed to expand dental oncology services across North Dublin, Cork and Galway. The €4.2 million I'm speaking of covers only staffing, excluding vital infrastructure needed to meet the rising patient demand. The National Cancer Control Programme, the HSE Dublin and South East have been key supporters of dental oncology, with multiple engagements over 6 years and vital backing for initial head and neck cancer funding. Previously, government support for head and neck cancer ended at abolition, with no national reconstruction provision, despite reconstruction being essential as it is in breast cancer. Breast cancer reconstruction often focuses on restoring the form and femininity, rebuilding the chest to reflect identity and symmetry. In contrast, head and neck cancer reconstruction is a fight to reclaim function, speech, swallowing and facial recognition. While one journey is about reshaping the silhouette, the other is about rebuilding the very tools of human connection. Both are acts of survival, but each tells a different story of resilience. However, as dental oncology services take place in primary care, no national funding mechanism is in place to support these patients on a countrywide basis. I raised the funding issue in February 2024 in a commencement matter, revealing that the National Oral Health Office cut the budget by €500,000. This was done without consulting key stakeholders like the Dublin Dental University Hospital, the HSE or the National Cancer Control Programme. Ireland's current approach to dental oncology care is critically underfunded, under-resourced and unsafe. It is failing to meet the needs of patients, many of whom face delayed, inequitable and inadequate treatment during some of the most vulnerable moments of their lives. The private member's motion seeks You, Minister, to enshrine in law the provision of comprehensive dental oncology services as a core component of cancer care. Legislative action and immediate investment are essential to ensure timely, safe and equitable treatment for all patients, aligning Ireland with best practice international standards and preventing avoidable harm. I ask this House to support the motion, not just for my daughter Rebecca, but for every patient who deserves better. Let us act now with compassion and conviction to build a system that truly cares. The system, to a large extent, is the cause of its own behaviour. Rebecca was diagnosed with cancer of the tongue at just 19. No one prepares for what comes after. The follow-up isn't a single moment. It's a relentless series of appointments, fillings, procedures, and every imaginable effort to save her teeth. But despite it all, by the age of 30, she had lost them. It wasn't just the surgeries. It was heartbreaking to watch her fight to preserve not only her smile, but her jaw, threatened by osteoradionarcosis, and through it all, her dentist stood beside her, just as devastated, just as determined. They weren't just treating her, they were fighting to save her. For us, the Dublin Dental University Hospital has been a lifeline. They have never sugarcoated the truth, but they have always stood with us. That is with me, Rebecca, and my wife, Helen. And I would have to say, my wife, Helen, and Rebecca took the brunt of it. I was privileged insofar as I could walk away every day and work and leave it behind me. I feel like we are a team, the Craughwells and the Dublin Dental Hospital, united in a mission to save every bit of Rebecca's smile and her beauty. And they will never, the staff that are sitting here today, they will never truly know how deeply my family appreciate them and their support. It's nearly 30 years since we first met the people in Dublin Dental Hospital, and they have been our lifeline. When it comes to head and neck cancer care across Europe, the contrast between countries is striking. Sweden stands out as a leader. Patients there begin treatment within weeks of diagnosis. Survival rates are among the highest in Europe, and access to cutting-edge therapies is swift and widespread. Ireland, while making great progress, still faces challenges. Treatment delays are more common, and access to innovative medicine is slower. Our survival rates, though improving, remain below Sweden's benchmark. These gaps are not just numbers, they represent lives, they represent outcomes, and the urgency for reform. If we aspire to match the best, we must invest in faster assessment and treatment, better infrastructure and policies that prioritise timely access to care, because every patient deserves the best chance, not just the best intentions. Thank you for taking the time to come here today, Minister, and I look forward to your response. Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you, Senator Craughwell.
Minister, I know that you have had a meeting to go to and you've just deferred that to be here, so I want to thank you for that. Somewhere in Ireland today, tomorrow, next week, a family will get the same message we got. And I remember Rebecca was 19 at the time, and her maxillofacial surgeon did not want to tell her what the diagnosis was after the biopsy. And he rang me. And I went home to Helen, my wife, and I said, we've got to go and see the surgeon. And we knew the news was bad. Rebecca, hearing us whispering, came in and she said, I'm over 18. And whatever news I've got to get, I'll get it myself. And I know her surgeon will tell you she's a feisty woman when she decides to take on things. And we went and we got the diagnosis and we brought her to St. James's Hospital for surgery. And on the morning we brought her into the theatre, the surgeon said to my wife and myself, speak to her now because she may never speak again. And I cannot tell you the impact that had. And then she came out of surgery totally unrecognisable because of the nature of the surgery. And I would do the late evenings and my wife would do the days. Helen would be there with her all day, every day, and woe betide anybody who wouldn't look after her. And I remember sitting one night in the hospital feeling desperately sorry for myself. And the next thing I got this croaky voice going, "What's your problem? I'm the one that had the surgery." And I looked up and there was my beautiful daughter. And she gave me stick that night. But we've heard about mortality rates. This is 26 years ago. And thanks to the people sitting in the gallery there, at every turn they were there beside her. During the recovery period from the surgery, somebody referred to me today as being brave. I can tell you I ran out the door while her mother and herself absolutely went head on because she had to have liquidated food at the time while she was recovering. I couldn't take it. Rebecca was resistant, Helen was determined she would eat. And between the two of them, she travelled the recovery route. But what we're here today about is the recovery and the restoration, and as restoring somebody as much as you possibly can. We're talking about 556,000 euros today. It is loose change in the back pocket of the Department of Health. It is loose change in the back pocket of the HSE. On Monday morning, the chairman and CEO of the dental hospital who are here can get a phone call from the HSE saying, "Look, we've just signed a cheque for 556,000. And by the way, we will work with you from now on to ensure that you have adequate funding." The 4.2 million that's been sought is in order to cut down on travel. Think about it. There are people here, and most of us have family members who know what it is like to suffer from cancer and the treatment thereof. The treatment sometimes is worse than the goddamn condition. And expecting people to travel from the west of Ireland to Dublin, from the south of Ireland to Dublin for treatment is simply not on. So we must find the 4.2 million urgently. I have seen the people in Dublin Dental Hospital. I have seen Rebecca's surgeon. I'd name you, but it's inappropriate to name people in the house, so I'd get ticked off over that. But I can tell these people work on a shoestring. They commit themselves morning, noon and night to the patients they have. My beautiful daughter has twice in the last 3 years been in intensive care, totally and utterly unconscious, where we did not know whether she would survive or not because of difficulty swallowing, because that's part of oral cancer. She's still here. One of the terrible things about her is when she recovers in intensive care and you go in and visit her, she looks at you, you say, "How are you?" And she says, "I'm planning my holiday in Lanzarote," right? And that's the way it goes. I have to thank her employer, Allied Irish Banks, who have stood with her over the years and looked after her and kept her on the staff. But most of all, I want to thank the people in the gallery who are there all the time, every time. 556,000 euros next Monday morning is not a big ask. And if we don't see it next Monday morning, as Senator Clonan said this evening, we'll be back in 6 months and 7 months and 8 months and 9 months. It's not huge money. I want to thank you, Minister, for staying the extra time. And Cathaoirleach, I want to thank you for being generous with time to wrap up. So thank you very much. And to the people in the gallery, thank you so much for being here. It shows massive solidarity with the team that are responsible for head and neck cancer in the Dublin University Hospital. We have the chairman of the board, we have the chief executive officer, and all of the senior staff. I am humbled by your attendance here today. Thank you.